In the ANMAtalks presents sessions, we give the floor to teaching staff, students and alumni from the ANMA community. In this line of sessions, they are invited to present their ongoing projects with the aim of inspiring colleagues and peers across the institutions. In this session, we are thrilled to welcome Martin Simonsen. Welcome to the session, How do you become an awesome musician to work with? Now, so welcome Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just 1 second. Okay. Thanks for having me. My name is Martin, and I'm a young musician from Denmark. And I have written, or I'm in the process of writing a book that's about how to become an awesome musician to work with. It has a Danish title, which is also a working title. So today I translated it to how to become an all-round good freelance musician, because it's about this, how you're a good freelancer, how you are nice to work with, how to have all your things in order. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the book contains, and at the end I will be open to answer any questions you might have. First, I would like to talk a little bit about myself, who I am. Oh, now there's a window of faces on the left, so I can't see okay, like this. I'm a bachelor from the Royal Academy of Music this summer, and my main instrument is keyboard, synthesizer. I also play bass, guitar. On my bachelor, I also played a lot of percussion and dancing. But my main instrument is keyboard. And throughout the last 3 years, I've played around 300 concerts, which has been with some different bands, festivals, venues. Also played some like a cover band, party music at corporate parties, birthdays. I have a children's band where I play at schools. We are adults, but it's for children's. And I've played in the whole Scandinavia, like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, not Finland, unfortunately, but that might come someday. And usually when I'm in a band, I get the role of being the MD, the music director, or the manager, because I have a good overview of the project, and I'm good at like being honest and pushing the project in a direction. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. Let's talk about the book. This is the current front page of the book, which is definitely in process of being something else, maybe a picture. I wrote the book this year. I started in January by collecting information, and then I had my exam the beginning of this month in Aarhus. And my process has been, I started having an idea maybe 2 years ago that I wanted to write a book about how to be really nice and how to know what you do when you're out playing. I have heard from a lot of people that some of the important things when you are a musician is to be good at playing music. And if you're not good at playing music, you can't get the jobs. And I think that is correct, but I have met a lot of people that are really good at playing, but not so good at maybe being socially connected to the people they are playing with, and maybe not so good at coming to the job at the right time, or maybe they didn't bring all the gear that they needed for the job. So I had an idea of like writing a book that should be a guide to how to know all this, so you can be good at playing and have all the other things in order also. So being a good musician is not only playing, but the whole idea of being a musician. So to write this book, I needed to get some information from other musicians. So I wrote down on a piece of paper all possible roles I could think of, that would be like drummer, pianist, bassist, director, music writer, singer, in different genres. If it was original music, or if you are in a band, if you're playing with an artist, if you are playing in a party band, if you are a substitute in a band, if you're playing in a jazz band, big band, all different roles I could think of, I wrote down. And then I filled in all these spaces with names I knew, and tried to get like an overview. So I had at least 3, 4, maybe 5 persons on each role, that I could call and talk to about this subject, how to become an awesome freelance musician. So there was a lot of roles that had a lot of people on it, and then there were some of the roles that had fewer musicians on it. So I narrowed it down, and I wrote to around 125 musicians if they wanted to be a part of my project and let me interview them. And 106 responded, and I completed interviews with 106 people in March this year, which took a lot of time. I didn't tape the interviews, but I wrote them down. I'm pretty fast writer, so yeah, the interviews could probably have been more like correct if I had taped it, but yeah, I didn't. But I got a really long like a document on my computer with all the answers. I think it's around 70 pages of just filled out writing of the interviews. After that, I read all the interviews through, and each time someone said a point, like be good at playing your instrument, I gave that specific task a point in my overview document, which you can see here. So, for example, in the top it says practical things, and then it has it's in Danish because I wrote it in Danish, but then it says knowing the music, and 83 of the 106 people said that being an awesome musician is about having that you know the music good. The next one is knowing your gear and having the good gear, and there's 63. So I went through it like this, and got an overview of what people think is important, and it was actually pretty interesting. There was a lot of points that before I wrote the book I wouldn't have said these are important points, and after, when I went through all these interviews, there was a lot of new stuff that I had no idea would come up. So yeah, that was interesting for me. Then I wrote the book, which I want to tell you about now. Before I started writing the book, my thought was to make it like I'm going to play this festival gig. These are the things I need to know. I'm going to play at a birthday party. These are the things I need to know. And after I went through all these interviews, it became more clear to me that there were like 3 main categories of how to be an awesome freelance musician, which I've written on the board now, which are the first group I've given the name the practical points, and the second group is the creative points, and the last one is the social points. And I want to tell you about the chapters I've put in these categories. So the first category is the practical points, and the different chapters in this are, the first is the music. So there's like in my book there's going to be like a title here which is going to say the music, and then I've written like a small chapter explaining what you need to know. And in this chapter, it's you need to know the music, you need to know it good, you need to be able to like experience with it when you're playing. It's not good to just show up and you're just like, I know it perfect, nothing can go wrong. I think there's from what I've heard from my interviewees, it's not so fun. It's not so much fun to play with a musician that's just shows up and is like, I know the music completely, and there's no room for experimenting and listening to the others. So this is like, you need to know the music good, and you need to play with the band. The next is about your gear. You need to have gear that works. You need to know how to work your gear. You need to show up with some gear that can be set up in a reasonable amount of time. Next one is your monitor mix. You need to know how to get a mix on stage. For example, if there's a sound engineer, you need to be able to tell the person, I need less of the guitar and I need more of the bass, for example. And in this chapter, I've also written a small guide about knowing a little bit about equalization. I need less of the low and more of the top, for example. And also about having like a monitor or having in-ears. There's a different stuff in there. You also need to know a little bit about keys and scale. If you're playing in C major, maybe you shouldn't play all the black keys. Like common musician theory knowledge is good. Then I've written about structure, like have a structure of what you do. Don't do one thing the first gig and then the next gig you're playing, do a whole different thing. For example, the first gig you bring all cables and microphones to your setup, which is like really nice, made up, and it's easy to work with. And then the next gig you come with your guitar in a plastic bag, because it's unreliable and the people you play with might think that you're weird. So yeah, a little bit about structure. Then I've written about defining the roles, which is probably mostly in like a band context. If you're in a band, it's nice to know who has which roles musically. For example, I play the bass on my keyboard, so the bassist maybe should play something a little bit higher on the frets so it doesn't get mixed up. Could also be who is driving the car, who knows about setting the microphones up. If there's a sound engineer, the person probably does that, but who has the contact to the venue. All these things about defining roles in a workspace. Then there's something about body language. Know what to do with your body when you're on stage. Time schedule and others' time. This is like 2 points I've put into one, because there's something about following the time schedule, and there's also something about respecting other people's time. The time schedule, pretty much self-explanatory. Be there on time. If it says dinner at 6 o'clock, you probably shouldn't disappear at 5:45 and come back at 7. Like, respect the group's time schedule. will be much easier to work together. And about others' time is about if you're playing a gig, for example, with someone you don't know so well, and you show up to the gig and you have no idea what you're playing, and what the whole thing is. The others have to like carry you through the gig, which is can be a pretty bummer. So like, know about yourself. This is yeah, I think important to have control of your own situation, and pretty much can do it without help from others. The next point is about unpredictability. Know that stuff can happen when you're playing, that you can't predict. And this point is about being like flexible to, okay, the guitar stopped working on stage. What do we do? Do we have a spare guitar? Is it the cable? Did someone pull out the power for the amp? What's the problem? But like being calm and able to control the situation without like panicking is pretty much what this chapter is about. Then the next two chapters are about some information that's good to know about the place you're playing. You need to know what is the venue, what's the size of it, what gear do they like provide for you to use, what audience is coming, what is the whole arrangement we're playing at. Good to know information before and definitely under the concert. Then there's something about transportation. Know how to get to the job and know how to like get your gear to the job. If you have a car, maybe someone can be picked up. If there's a band bus, then you probably should meet up at one place, so the driver of the band bus doesn't have to drive 5 different places to pick up people. If everybody drives their own car, then it makes pretty much sense in itself. But like, be good at, for example, if you don't have a car and you need to get to a job where you need a car, it's your responsibility to contact a person with a car to say, can you help me get to the concert, because I can't do it myself. Then there's something about having a rider. This is mainly for like original bands, not so much if you're playing at your friend's mom's 50-year birthday. Then you probably won't give her a rider that says we want like beer and soda and some candy. But if you're playing at a venue, it's good to have a hospitality rider that's makes your concert better or more like smooth. If you know you need water, there should probably be water on the hospitality rider. The same goes for the tech rider. Make a pretty clear overview of what you're bringing and what gear you need the venue or festival to provide. If you are using a house technician, you probably should write a tech ride, or what do you call it, a channel plan, so the person knows what instruments are playing, what you think would be a good channel plan for your setup. All this information, just if it's nice and easy to read, it's much easier to like get the whole concert going smooth. Then there's something about clothes. What clothes should you wear? Definitely something that you feel comfortable in, but maybe something that fits the concert in some way. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but some people don't think about this. Maybe they would show up in some clothes that is weird for the show. For example, if you're playing at a high stand-up business meeting where everybody else in the band are wearing suits, and you come in shorts and a t-shirt maybe that has a bear on it or something. I don't know. it's good to talk about what we are wearing in a concert. Yeah. Then there's something about economy. You need to know something about what are you getting paid for this job before the job. You need to have control over your own economy. It can be pretty tough to play with musicians that are really counting on the money for the job the next day after the job. It could be maybe a week or a month before it will arrive. It shouldn't, but it will sometimes. So like have control of your economy, know how to pay your taxes, and know how to, if you buy gear, know how to like deduct that from your taxes. I don't know exactly what the rules are in Finland and the other countries that are here, but in Denmark, there's like, if you buy gear and you play a lot of concerts, you can like deduct them from each other and you pay less taxes. Yeah. So that's, yeah. Yeah, then there's something about cables, pretty short chapter. There's just like know how to fold the cables so they don't just get put together like this and down in the bag. And the next time you have to open the bag, it's like a mess. Then there's something about promotion. If you're playing at a venue, it's mostly the venue's responsibility to promote the event. But if you're playing like in a small venue, you probably want to help the venue by promoting the event yourself. And like you want to get a lot of people to come to the concert, which will be nice for the venue and also for the band playing. So there's like a whole, guide on how you should promote your event. And last, in the practical points, there's about the rehearsal space, just a little bit of rules about how to be in the rehearsal space. Don't be an idiot to the others. Be nice. Think about the music as a product and not as a personal feature. Like if I say you're playing really bad, then that's not so so nice. I mean, it's not so productive. If I say, I think the chords you are playing would be better if you play them maybe in a different way, it's much more productive. So yeah, a little bit about the rehearsal space. Yeah, that's the practical points. And then I want to show you a little bit. In the book, I have put like small quotes from my interviewees. This quote is from a drummer. I haven't put names in my book because I want it to be like for everybody. But a drummer talked about the whole time schedule thing, and I've just translated the quote to English. So it says, my internal clock is bad, so I need to pay extra attention to the time if I want to be there on time. If I'm 5 minutes late and it's a group of 10 people, then there's a waste of 50 minutes. It's not enough to have control over your gear. You also need to plan your time schedule well. Which I think like suits up the whole respecting other people's time and knowing your time schedule. Yeah, that's like the long chapter. Now I want to talk a little bit about the creative points, and then we have a little bit more. I know my time is not long, but it's fun to talk about this. I'm really passionate about this project, so thanks so much for listening. Yeah, so the creative points are like the whole musicality thing of being an awesome freelance musician. The first point is knowing what's going to happen. It's good to know what you're playing in the different songs, so you can play it well and maybe play something extra on it. It's a little bit together with the next the point, give some of yourself to the music. Like a lot of the people I talked with said that it's boring to play with musicians that just play the music like it is, or it can be boring. Depends definitely on what you're playing. If you're playing big band sheets, you probably should play what's on the sheets. But if you're playing maybe improvisation or playing more loose forms on the song, or playing original music with a band, you should often give some of yourself to the music, play some of your own style, make it interesting to listen to. I think it's a really nice like signature if people can listen to something you have played and they know exactly that it's you playing, because it's in a specific way. I think that would be like a goal for many musicians to come to that. Then there's also something about setting goals and having a direction in your career. If you want to play with a big pop artist at one of the biggest festivals in Europe, maybe you shouldn't spend all your time playing Charlie Parker solos in your studio. Maybe you should try to go in the direction you want to go. Maybe it will work to do the Charlie Parker solos for some other gigs, but maybe the big pop concerts, that you need to make some other work for that. And the next is about like playing music in like the setting you're playing it in. If you're at a studio, like recording an album or a single or whatever, the song needs to be in a specific way. And if you need to play that exact same song live at a concert, maybe you need to change a little bit up. Maybe it will work exactly the same way, but it's good to be aware of what you're doing. And the last in the creative points is having respect for the music and the genres. Like respect if the music is written in a specific way, if you're playing someone else's music, respect it in some way. Of course, you can change it a little bit, but like don't just play random over some really beautiful tune. Have respect for it in some way, or play over it respectfully. The same goes for the genres. If you're playing disco, maybe know a little bit about what is disco and how does it work. It's the same for rock music. Don't just there's a quote about it here. I think it's really sums up like the creative points chapter, from a guitarist that says, it's not enough if it's fine, it needs to touch people, and it needs to be really, really good. You need to play it right. Have respect for the music like you have for water. Don't just open the tap and let it run. If it becomes bullshit, then it doesn't matter. And I think that's pretty much this chapter, that playing music needs to matter for you and also for other people. So the last like main point is the social point. Like, how are you as a person? Because playing concerts or being in a band is like maybe, I don't know, 3% or 2% being on stage, and there's so much time between shows and in the practice room. And if you're not nice, then you probably won't be so nice to play with. So I have something about the mood, which is like, have a good mood, give good vibes to the group. Don't be mad all the time, and don't say stuff that makes other people sad. Spread a good vibe through the group. And also calmness and surplus. If you are very calm and able to just make a nice environment through or around the band, that's a positive point or feature of you. Also, if you have a surplus, help someone who doesn't have it. help each other. That's also here at the bottom. Also, all the time, make sure if someone needs help, help them. Also goes with communication. Tell people if you are feeling in a certain way. Communicate about how you want to do things. That I think it's self-explanatory, but I've like tried to put all these points. Also flexibility. We talked a little bit about this before. Be open to changes, and if something goes wrong, be calm and fix the stuff. The next point, expectations alignment, I think is really, really important. Maybe one of the most important points in the book. If you're in a group, need to be sure that your expectations are aligned. Have a meeting, talk about what people expect of each other. Talk about how you can be sure to have a good communication in the group. There's a question, and that's very good. I will come back to that. Whoops. Oh, sorry. My computer is a little bit weird right now, but it's fine. Here I'm back. But have expectations aligned with the group. I think is a key to have a good like a corporate or what do you say, cooperation in the group. I don't know if that's what you say, but yeah. Then there's something about security. Create a secure space for the group. Make sure that everybody feels secure and that they can talk to each other about something they might be sad about, or if they feel that someone else in the group has done something wrong, they need to be secure enough to tell, hey, you did this, I didn't think it was okay, can we talk about how we do it in the future? Like, again, communication and create a secure space. Then there's something about professionalism. Be a professional musician. What does that mean? I think it means to like know how to when to do what. Don't tell someone that's sad that they need to pull themselves together. I mean, be nice and like, yeah. I think it makes sense, but in the book I've written like some points that how to become professional. This next one I also talked a little bit about independence. Have control of your own situation. Don't expect other people to fix it for you. Have a good warm-up routine. Make sure that you go on stage ready to play. Have a good time is also, I think, a key point. Don't be a musician because you want to earn money or because you want to be famous. Be a musician because you want to have a good time, and make sure that you have it. If someone in the group is not having a good time, try to help them to get to them having a good time. And lastly, having respect for others. Very important, I think. All the time, respect other people. Both the audience and the people in the group. If you're a band and you're playing at a venue, go around when you arrive at the place, go around, say hello to everybody, shake their hands and say, hello, my name is Martin, how are you doing? Show them that you are a real person and that you respect the people at the venue. Also, maybe the person at the bar that's maybe not so nice, be respectful and talk nicely to them. Then there's also a quote to this about this whole social thing from a bassist that says, people don't remember the concert, they remember how it was hanging out with the people they played the gig with. It's your responsibility to leave a good impression, and it is half and half personal and musical. that's like the first three main chapters of the book. And then I want to shortly go over the last chapters of the book, and then we have time for some questions. I've written some chapters about instruments, and I just thought that it might be nice with a little picture. So this is my setup for a band with my keyboards. It doesn't really matter for the subject, but it was just to have something to look at, because then it might not be so boring. But yeah, the instruments, I've written like a chapter at the top, which is about like general knowing what to do with your instruments, which I've summed up pretty well here. And then there's also a specific chapter for each instrument, like a keyboard, bass, drums, guitar, horns, and strings, and a backing track. That's like, I think, the most main instruments. So if you're playing percussion, for example, you might use the drums chapter. Yeah. But that's just like know how and what to play and how to groove, know how to tune your instrument, have gear that works and gear that you know how to work, have cases to your gear, and have spare gear, have a car or rent a car. If you have drums, you will probably at some time need a car. Yeah, do it, fix it yourself, kind of situation. If necessary, be able to read sheet music. Most concerts, I don't think it's necessary because you know it by heart, but sometime you might need to read it, and it'll be good to have some skill in that, and have a good warm-up routine if your instrument is like a body instrument, for example, a singer, or horns, or yeah, I don't know, big pseudo drums. You should definitely need to have a good warm-up routine. That's shortly about instruments. Then I have a chapter about venues, which is pretty much just like explaining if you're coming to like a venue, like a regular venue, these are some things you need to know. If it's a festival, then there's these things, private party, corporate party, or if you're playing a concert as a substitute. Yeah, I don't want to go all into this, but it was just to show that it's in the book. And my last chapter is like a story telling, where I've asked people to tell a story about an experience they've had playing, either with someone being a really good freelance musician, or maybe not so good. And I have two quotes I want to read up, or stories I want to read up. The first is this one. I played in a punk band a couple of years ago, which was a really nice project. We had a pretty big tour and also some big festivals. Then we had to play a headliner where everybody shows up at the venue except the lead singer. We call the singer, whom apparently is on vacation in Southern Europe. So we had to tell the venue that we needed to cancel the show because not everybody could show up. Really embarrassing. Funny story, I think. And the last one here is like a good story. I sing choir in a band which had a big summer tour. We played lots of big shows throughout the summer. One day we get told that there's an extra gig we need to play, and we figure out that the keyboard player can't make it to the whole show. We calculate that if I learned the first 4 songs of the show, then the keyboard player would be able to make it to the rest of the show. We filmed the keyboard rolls in one of the shows before the specific concert, and we decided that I should play the first 4 songs. The keyboard player eventually made it 5 minutes before the concert, but I played the songs at the sound check, so it was a rock and roll situation, which ended up being not as rock and roll as it could have. Yeah, also pretty fun story, I think. That's it, I think. Yeah, I just want to maybe go out of this screen sharing so I can see people. Yeah, I'm back. Thanks for listening. Now there's room for some questions, and there was one already from Anas. I have a question about when we talk about generic skills in the perspective of your study book. Are there huge difference in what we normally behavior, good and creative other areas of work? A few words about that. I'm not sure I understand the question actually, because I don't understand what generic skills mean. Maybe you can help me, Camilla.
Yes, of
Or
course, Martin.
yeah,
First of all, thank you for a good presentation and huge work, I would say, with all these interviews and the empiric you got. So good work. Well,
thanks.
generic skills, it's more about if you train something that you can use it in general in other areas and so on. So my question is very much about if you educate as a musician, can you use these skills or some of the skills in totally other areas? And of course, we know that many of the musicians or that we educate are working in different areas. And then I'm talking about administration in culture life and so on. So that is about generic skills, but also it's two-parted question. It's also about what you talked about is very much about behavior. It's behavior, how you work at whatever place you're working, and so on. So it's more if you have some thoughts about these things in general.
Yeah, um, I think some of the points in my book can like fit on many different types of jobs or workplaces, because definitely you need to be nice, and the whole social thing fits in a lot of places. Um, yeah, I don't know exactly if I'm answering your question right, but um, to me, the book is like about mostly being a musician. But as I've talked to some other people, they say that the book is actually about like being a good freelancer in a lot of freelance places. Um, but many of the subjects in the book are specific musician skills. I would say, for example, monitor mix or knowing music. But I think if maybe I'm very clever in 10 years, I could write the same book about some other job that maybe, because I've done so much work already in the subject. Yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah.
Is it okay if I give a comment before Marcus? Is it okay with you, Marcus? I don't have. There are some studies, but I'm pretty sure if. Well, I have 25 years of head of uh, education, and what I've seen is that we forget very often when we educate our musicians or whatever that there are generic skills that are so useful in so many areas. For example, how to work together, how to deal with working with people that you don't like, but you have to be professional, and so on. Just some examples. And also, what I think is the most important is that you have some common goals together where you want to go and put that in a whatever company or organization. It's gold. So I think,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah. Sorry, Marcus.
Can I go then? I somehow missed Martin. What was the what was the age of the people you interviewed? Were they kind of older than you?
It was actually I wanted to like ask very broad. So some of them I asked were the same age as me, or maybe a little bit younger or a little bit older. But I've also interviewed some people in like the 30s and the 40s, and also a few old people. I don't know so many old musicians, but I tried to ask. I think there are maybe 3 or 4 in the like 50s and 60s. So I had like a broad. I also asked people that are very professional, and I asked people that are maybe doing it as a side job, because I wanted to hear all kinds of different views on how to be a good freelance musician. I didn't say it before, so you didn't miss it, but yeah.
But because this is what I'm interested in, because this is part of your studies doing this book. So what is your critical thinking about the things that you heard? How would you like to improve as the new generation, making things a little bit better, maybe more sustainably, maybe more ethically? What would be your critical input when you have heard all this big amount of professionals?
For me, the thing I was mostly shocked about was this whole like playing the music right, because I think before I was like, you need to just know the music, show up on time, have your gear in order. That was like the only points that were important for me. Now when I've talked to all these different people, I can somehow see a pattern in the types of musicians I've talked with. The people that think that they are really good talk about being nice or like being an awesome freelance musician in a different way than people that are maybe more like thought through, maybe have a little bit more experience in the field. So I think my answer would probably be that it's really important to have a sort of voice in the music you play. And I think that's something that you might not get taught so much at the different music schools. And about having this, also this whole social skill. I haven't had a single lesson on being socially in a band at the conservatory, and I think it's a key point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you see any genre differences? Because you have, as you said, this broad pattern of different musicians.
Yeah, I mean, some of the like stuff you needed to know before a concert would be different. For example, if you are playing in a jazz trio or quartet, or if you're playing in a big professional I'm not professional. What I mean is like a big production show that has different, like, you need to know if you're playing in a jazz trio at a small club somewhere, it's okay to bring maybe some sheet music, and you need just to know what gear do they have at the place. It's different if you have a big production, but I think the whole the creative points and the social points are pretty well like balanced throughout the different genres, I would say.
Yeah.
Great. We are running out of time, but thank you so much, Martin, for a very interesting presentation. I really think you're contributing with a lot here, and I'm so happy that you were willing to do this session with us. And I'm also happy that it's recorded, because I think it's really useful in all of our academies, actually, to use this to dive into a topic that, as you say, have a tendency of not really being part of the curriculum necessarily, maybe in bits, but it's something that gets very important when you are on the other side, so to say, of the education.